For a better understanding of the budget, joining me now in the news studio is Gautam Chickenmurray, the Vice President of the Observer Research Foundation. Gautam, thanks so much for joining us. So tell us, the budget has officially been unveiled. Lots of focus on healthcare spending, infrastructure and of course vaccines against COVID-19. What were your big takeaways?
The first thing is that a fiscal deficit of 6.8%.
Right.
Everybody expected it may be much higher, quite like the 9% last year. We thought it may be in double digits because this is a year when there's a whole lot of investments required and without increasing taxes. So I thought that fiscal deficit would increase. The fact that Nirmala Sitharaman has kept it at 6.8, which is high. But in a black swan event like the COVID, post-COVID recovery, it's a low number. The economic survey had prepared us for much higher. So I think that's a very good news. It means that despite the increased spending that you talked about, and it's there in the budget papers, inflation will remain under control, expenses will remain under control. So I find these to be very good. 64,000 crore going into healthcare, vaccines, 1 lakh, a whole lot of push on infrastructure.
Right.
For instance, just 1 lakh crore going into railways, capital investment. Capital means tracks or corridors or new investment where a whole lot of jobs will be created, activity will happen upon which future GDP will get catalyzed. So these are all good things. But the fact that she has not touched taxes at a personal income tax level or corporate tax level, that's another good thing. No wonder the market is up 1,600 points. But you know, there is one thing which is nothing to do with public finances or tax collections, but will impact, but it's an important takeaway as far as people like us, individuals, citizens are concerned. It is the easing of compliances across the board. Senior citizens, pre-filled tax forms and so on. These are much required, and they are using AI, big data to give you a prefixed form, less compliances and faceless compliances. These are all very good. The moment you have a face, it means there is a bribe or a potential for rent taking, rent seeking. All that has ended. So I think in terms of the governance of public finances, this budget has done a lot. It may not get the credit in terms of numbers of lakh crores or thousands of crores, etc. But just in terms of citizen convenience, ease of living, this budget has started the journey which we have all been talking about for a very long time. It now needs to transpose this over the next few months on companies, on doing business.
Gautam, should the fiscal deficit be an alarming concern as of now? Where is the money coming from?
Not at all. It's not alarming at all. In fact, the world over, if you look at G20, for instance, the discussions in G20 have been talking about easing. And I think we need to stop thinking about rest of the world. India has done very well on the vaccine front. It is doing well on the economic front. It is going to be the fastest growing economy next year and the year after. So I think all winds are with us. We are doing fine. The fact that we did not spend earlier and have begun to spend now has been very beautifully articulated yesterday, 2 days ago in the economic survey, when they said that you want to accelerate but not put foot on the brake. So India had put foot on the brakes in terms of lockdown, in terms of stopping all economic activity. And now that we see the vaccines coming and India becoming one of the major suppliers of vaccine across the world, not only in India, now we can start accelerating, and that's what she is doing. 6.8 is not a high number at all. It is not an appropriate number. Of course, it should be 3. Of course, it should be 2.5. There is a whole glide path that has been written by the NK Singh committee. And we will get there. But by 2025, she has said so. But 6.8 today, given the conditions, given the contraction of the GDP, is fair. I don't see any problem.
Let's talk about vaccines. Of course, a huge highlight of this budget. The finance minister announced rupees 35,000 crore for COVID-19 vaccines this year. Also announcing that 2 more vaccines are likely apart from the 2 that are already available. So tell us more about the same and how will this be received by pharma companies?
I don't care about the pharma companies. It's their business. They can do what they want. I care about India. And I think if India has made this vaccine and it is strong enough that countries around the world are asking, I think we have already exported to about 9 countries and there are another 70 countries that are seeking to have tie-ups either through purchases or through other kinds of arrangements. It is clear that India is now the leader in at least the COVID vaccine area. It is the pharmacy of the world. We should not let this momentum go away, and the government, its officials, its bureaucracy, even if there is one slightest hurdle that if they place before such companies, they should be just wiped out. India has done very well. It will continue to do well.
Right.
Rest of the pharma companies, they can manage their own business. Maybe they want margins. Maybe India, they will have to benchmark against the pricing that India is offering and bring their products down. We don't know how this will play out.
Right.
For the moment, I think India has done very well, and it should continue.
Gautam, now let's talk about the agriculture sector, especially in light of the recent unrest that the country has witnessed. Did the agriculture sector get the boost that it needed?
The two are unrelated. The unrest is because of 3 new laws. In fact, the unrest, let me correct myself. The unrest is because of willfully misreading the 3 laws. It's political, because they say MSP, they say mandis will get wiped out, and so on and so forth. None of it is there in the laws, and most of the people who are holding forth on these discussions and whom I have met have not read the laws.
Right.
They are not very big laws. For instance, the Essential Commodities Amendment is a very minor 2-para amendment. The other laws are different. You can have a quarrel with some parts of the law. For instance, the dispute mechanism should be judicial rather than the district magistrate. All those are fine. But so that is one aspect of it. That is what the noise is. In terms of allocations, it seems to me that she has allocated far more money.
Right.
How much it is as a percent of GDP, I don't know. We still need to. I still need to read the papers. So I'm talking blind here. But last year's budget was around 9% of 9% of expenditure was going on agriculture, of which 4% was going to warehousing. So it's such a waste. Do we really want to encourage wastefulness simply because of politics? I don't know. That's the beauty, or that's the drama of India's political economy. How far we want to play on this drama versus whether India should grow, create new jobs in manufacturing, services, is the bigger question. As far as pure agriculture goes, the allocations look to be more than they were last year, perhaps the highest ever. So, but let's see how this plays out.
Right. Let's talk about India's youth now. Do you think they will be able to get more jobs, especially in light, in the shadow of the coronavirus pandemic, when millions of jobs have been lost? Did this budget answer the question that will there be more jobs in the country going forward?
I think so. If you look at the capital expenditure that the government has initiated in infrastructure industry, like I mentioned, railways, 1 lakh crore of capital expenditure alone, not spending on day to day, but just the capital expenditure. That shows that the government is willing to put its money where growth is, and after the first, let us say, quarter, first maybe 1 or 2 quarters, private investments will follow. So we are all hoping, I hope, my personal thing is that government has started the process of investing in capital expenditure that will create jobs for people as well as a T of activity, upon which private companies will then ride, and hopefully this will become a virtuous cycle of investments, jobs, GDP, and wealth.
Right. Let's talk about compliances and taxation now, since that always is something that everybody wants to know about. Will there be a big change going forward for taxpayers, salaried employees? We heard about relief for senior citizens, people over 75 years, now exempt from filing IT returns. So tell us more about the same.
Yeah, exempt from filing taxes, tax returns is okay, but I think the other ease of compliance is in terms of faceless interactions with the tax authorities, disputes that have been now raised only after 50 lakh, if I remember correctly, can now those disputes happen. In any case, they will be faceless, and if at all something at the highest tax bureaucrats will need their permission. So to me, ease of compliance has always been an important aspect. It is good that the government has started moving in this direction. But along with ease of compliance, what I found missing in the budget was the expansion of the tax base. I think this whole thing about you don't pay tax, you don't file tax, let's reduce tax, remove everything, should go away. There used to be a huge debate earlier on broadening the tax base. That debate has seemed to have vanished. But having said that, the fact that she did not touch income tax rates is okay. I'm unhappy with 11 tax slabs, by the way.
Right.
And then again, there are 7 or 8 on the old side. So if you multiply them and have a permutation and combination, there's a huge number of rates.
Right.
It is not tax friendly. It is not friendly for a normal person. We should come back to 3 rates. But the fact that she has not touched them so in this budget is good enough. Maybe it's an investment for the next.
Right. Let's talk about the Indian government's and Prime Minister Modi's Self-Reliant India program and the kind of focus that was laid upon this during this budget. So what do you think going forward will be the challenges of the same?
Firstly, there seems to be some form of a moral allegation on India that India is Atmanirbhar Bharat is as though it's a 4-letter word. That this is out of sync with globalization and so on. But this has been the time when all economies across the world have closed down.
Right.
They have shut their doors. India has one of the highest, 40% of its GDP comes from trade. So to that extent, that if India is doing what the rest of the world is, I don't see the problem.
Right.
Having said that, India cannot be an outlier, that we will remain open while other countries will remain closed. That cannot happen. So I think the real answer to these discussions are going to happen mostly in G20, which will set the broad agenda, which is like the board of directors of the world, of the economy, and followed by WTO. So between these two organizations, where India is an active participant, some new equilibriums will be established. So if we are raising, for instance, the customs duties on certain telecom components and so on, fine, it's fine. It's not out of sync with any other countries do. It should not happen. But India alone cannot carry that burden. It should not happen anywhere.
Right. Gautam, my final question as we wrap up this discussion now. This budget was highly anticipated. The world, in a sense, was watching India as it presented its budget. It comes on the back of the coronavirus pandemic and the economic fallout, massive job losses. But yet there were signs of a positive recovery that we were seeing recently. So can we call this a bold budget at this point?
There are some interesting, but bold is a rather, it's a heavy word. It's a loaded word.
Right.
This is not 1991, by the way. It's not Manmohan Singh's 1991 budget. So some aspects are important. For instance, the government has taken some brave steps, bold steps in disinvestment. It's going to disinvest parts of 2 public sector banks, LIC in the next 2 years. Air India in the next 2 years will be through strategic sale. These are all good things. Air India selling means no more loss to taxpayers. The others will help deepen the capital markets. They have become a little shallow. There is too much money which is chasing too few deep enough stocks. With these disinvestments, perhaps the stock market will deepen. Particularly the LIC IPO, I don't know the values, but even if they disinvest even 10%, you're looking at another Sensex, another company entering the Sensex. And so the deepening of the markets will help. So that's a bold step. The fact that the fiscal deficit has remained only 6.8 when we were expecting it to be 9 or 10 is a very bold step. I don't know how that's going to play out. Ease of compliances we have already discussed. That's not a bold step, but it's a much needed step. This should have happened 70 years ago. But okay, even now it's okay. I like that. What I still don't like is those 11 tax slabs. She has to reduce them back to 3, which Chidambaram had started in his 1998 budget and has been gone on for about since then until they were raised last year. So I think that part needs to come. Corporate taxes are already low, and now we need to see some action. I think the government has done enough.
Co-presented by Skoda. Simply clever.
WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.